According to the stats, only 3% of indie filmmakers actually make a return on their investment for their films, which means over 97% of filmmakers don't make a profit at all. And in this masterclass, we brought on Jason Brubaker, who is an expert in distribution and has produced multiple indie features. In this masterclass, you're going to learn how to get a marketing plan for your film, who to reach out to, how to perfect your pitch, and most importantly, how to build an audience so you can actually get eyeballs on your film and make a profit from all the hard work that you did.
What are we going to do in our short time together? Well, we're going to talk about marketing. What is marketing? It's a question a lot of people talk about, like when people need something, they're like, I need to do marketing. What does that even mean? Then we're going to talk about how to sharpen your hook in the context of motion picture marketing. We're going to talk about getting professional assets and why that's important. We're going to talk about driving web traffic to whatever hub you create to promote your movies. And we're going to talk about your trailer and why that's important and how to go out and find the best trailer by split testing. So there's a lot we're going to cover, but let's just start with the basics. What the heck is marketing? Um, Usually when somebody says I need marketing, they're talking about some aspect of marketing. Like in some cases, I need one sheets, I need a poster, all of that. It all falls under marketing, but the real reason behind why you're doing what you're doing is because you want traffic and conversion. So the simplest definition I've ever heard for marketing that I stick to is traffic and conversion. There's a lot of stuff happening. We're going to talk about AI with Jonathan a little bit later today, but there's a lot of things out there that can distract you that feels like, oh, I need to be doing this or that or the other thing. I need to be on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. What it all comes down to, again, is traffic and conversion. So our goal today is to simplify every step in that process. So here's marketing channels. In our effort to simplify things, there's really four channels. You got free online promotion, free offline promotion, paid online promotion, and paid offline promotion. Four different channels. So when we're talking about traffic and conversion, it typically fits into those four different channels. So hopping into it, sharpening the hook. Now, in regular business, we call this a USP. A USP is a unique selling proposition. It's the thing about your movie that makes it unique in a sea of other movies that are out there competing for engagement and people's time. So how do you create your USP? How do you sharpen your hook, if it were? Well, first of all, a big a big thing you can do is you can put names in your movie. One of the first questions distributors ask, who's in your movie? And the reason they're asking for that, and it's taken me a really long time to learn this, is because the names you put in your movie is, in a sense, a marketing expense. I know the names in your movie are the ambassadors for the story that you're trying to tell, but there's a big difference between why a studio might put Brad Pitt in a movie or they might put Jason Brubaker in a movie, which they probably wouldn't put me in a movie. And the reason is because people like Brad Pitt bring a whole lot of audience and notoriety to the movie. So although a movie studio will spend, 20, 30, $50 million to get an A-list actor, typically the reason for that is because that A-list actor puts butts in the seats. And so if you look at it from that lens, we're talking about a marketing expense. Casting names is a marketing expense. So you might say, well, I don't know Brad Pitt. Then the question is, like, for your movie, given the scope and scale, is there anybody that you could put in your movie that would bring some audience with them? So in the example of like a documentary, who could you interview that already has a huge following that could come into your movie and bring some of that following with them? And if you stack up the people that are in your movie in a certain way over, the course of your casting, you can actually build a pretty good audience, or at least a potential for audience in your movie. And so when you do that, what happens on the back end when you go to sell the movie is you're eliminating risk and you're increasing the probability of reward for both the people that do business with you and yourself. So this was a movie I was involved with. I represented them as in a sales capacity. It's called Man Up. A few years ago, starring a famed YouTuber. We got this. It was actually Lakeshore Entertainment, when they created their digital arm, it was their first acquisition. So that was a movie I represented, but not major A-list actors, but a YouTuber with, hundreds of thousands of followers. Um, so that's an example in the lower end. It's not Brad Pitt, but that's stuff that you can do. The other thing that you got to think about is controversy. There's a lot of movies out there that are frankly boring. There's sorry to say that, but that happens sometimes, that you make a movie and it's flat. And sometimes the movie's flat because people are afraid to take a stand. So, do you have a story that's polarizing, right? Do you have a story that a lot of people would disagree with your point of view? That kind of thing can spark word of mouth because there's controversy. So, another one of Tom Lloyd's movies, Trauma Therapy, example of like if somebody's searching for trauma therapy on YouTube or something, this probably isn't what they're looking for. So, what kind of controversy, what kind of polarization, what kind of like angle can you take in the marketplace that goes against what people might be thinking? And genre. Through the years, I've met a lot of filmmakers. They're like, "Oh, my movie fits in all sorts of genres. It's not genre specific. It appeals to everybody on earth." Okay, well, that's great from an artistic perspective, but from a sales agent distribution perspective, we want to figure out where to put this on Netflix or on YouTube. So it needs to fit into a genre. And if you're not quite sure what genre your movie fits into, pick the one closest to the genre you think it is. And then all of your marketing should, and all of the ways that you communicate about your movie should revolve around that. So another Tom Lloyd movie, Ask Me to Dance. In this case, you know exactly who the core audience might be. The bullseye audience would be people that are into dance. And then it extends beyond that, romantic comedy, different things that are a little bit broader. But that bullseye target audience, that genre, is very specific to begin with. Then the other part of what we got to talk about is fix our pitch. We just finished up the American film market. Show of hands, anybody go to the American film market? Pretty interesting place this year. You got to play video poker in between your meetings. Couldn't do that before. So playing some video poker, I got to sit there. I was, and my wife actually came along with me. So we sat at the bar in the middle there, for those of you that were there in that casino, just playing some video poker while casually sipping a cocktail. And I was able to hear all the people around me, and I just took a listen, thinking like, oh, I want to be able to use this as an example when I teach this stuff. I heard some really long-winded, terrible pitches. Really, fix your pitch, fix your pitch, fix your pitch, fix your pitch. So it was also funny too, because I got in the elevator and twice people recognized me. And one of the people that was in the elevator was somebody that took the pitch class that Tom Malloy and I put together, and and he just gave us an elevator pitch, which was really funny. It worked because it was so concise that from the time that we got on that elevator at AFM and got up to the suite, you got the pitch out, and it didn't sound long-winded, and it was concise, and it was well rehearsed, and it was engaging. Fix your pitch. So you want to keep it simple and short. You want to highlight the key elements of your film that I pointed out earlier. Controversy, who's in it, what's the genre, and you want to obviously practice your delivery. A lot of people, it's kind of, I'm a terrible actor, by the way, and I know this because whenever I'm acting, I look like I'm acting. Some people don't have that some people are way better at acting than I am. Your pitch shouldn't be like, now I'm in pitch mode. It should be conversational. You should be in the room and you should be able to say like, this is what it's about and here's why I'm passionate about it, without saying this is what it's about and here's why I'm passionate about it. So please practice that delivery. This will go a long way to making you sound professional. And along that route, step number 3, in terms of like in the movie business, and frankly in every business, perception is reality. You've heard the fake it till you make it. Well, in the course of marketing, and especially marketing your movie, if you go out and you have a one sheet or a poster that was made by your kid sister who only slightly knows Photoshop, or you use some sort of AI program that definitely looks like an AI program, people are going to know. So just take the time, invest in somebody that can provide you with professional assets. So that means hire a professional graphic designer. And when we talk about trailers later, hire a trailer editor that knows how to make trailers. Um, and, you know, when we talk about branding, and I'm not going to go too far into it, but you want to make sure that everything that you're presenting about your movie is congruent. So I like to, the pretty basic fashion advice that they gave me. I don't know who they are, but somebody somewhere along the way gave me the advice that something I should be doing when I go to work is match my belt with my shoes. So if I'm wearing brown shoes, I should wear a brown belt. From that perspective, that's branding. So your one sheet, your poster, your website, your hats, your shirts, everything that you do should have the same colors, the same fonts, the same logos, the same look, the same feel, the same words that you use to describe your stuff should be congruent across all those different ways that you're communicating the value of your movie and why people should care. So match your belt with your shoes. Um, and then let's talk about this thing about audience. Very early on, when I started teaching marketing, everybody was out there going like, you got to build an audience, you got to build an audience, you got to build an audience. And that is true still today. The tactics are different. I mentioned earlier that if you get Brad Pitt in your movie, you already got an audience baked in. But the question is, how do you capitalize on that for your next movie and the movie after that? Or if you don't have Brad Pitt, how do you kind of go about getting out there, spreading word of mouth and building an audience? And how do you stay in touch with them? Well, it happens to be your email list. Even at the time of doing this, where we're entering into 2025, email is still vitally important. All of you are here right now because somebody sent an email today or yesterday or last week with an invite to this exact meeting with a link in it that you clicked on. Email is important and it's something that you got to take seriously. So what does that even mean? So you got to simplify your website. You got your movie title, you got a trailer, got maybe a little tagline there, and then you got a little button with the call to action. Now, that little button with the call to action right there, if your movie's not made and you're just promoting it, that should be collecting email addresses. If your movie is made and it's in Amazon, for example, then you still have that button there. You still collect the email address, but instead of sending folks to the thank you page, you send folks straight to your movie on Amazon. That's just one tactic, but just to give you an idea how powerful this is. And then if people are like, oh, I'm, in between a meeting, I don't have time to watch a movie. Now you have the email address, not just for the movie you're promoting right now, but for all movies moving forward. So building your list is vitally important. Build your list, build your list, build your list, in addition to casting people that bring some audience to your movie. So you can set up drip campaigns. All of you know the various players that are out there. MailChimp's very, popular. You got Aweber. I personally use one called BirdSend, but there's lots of email providers to comply with spam laws and different things that, I'm not a lawyer, other people here are. Using a third-party email service provider helps you stay compliant with those various things. Because when I say build your list, I'm not talking about building a huge email list and then sending everybody an email via Gmail. I'm talking about getting one of those third-party providers and using it. Then you start building a list, and then here's an example of that. I know there's a lot of documentarians. John Corey, really good producer, actually came into one of my workshops, quite a few years back, and actually bought one of my info products on marketing. And I said, John, you're a great marketer. What are you doing? He's like, I don't know. I like to learn stuff or something to that effect. So he was involved with this movie, Forks Over Knives. And this is an example of like how building a list isn't just about selling your movie, but for those of you that are documentarians, if you have that kind of subject matter, like in this case, it's about, a plant-based diet and how that can positively affect your health. If there's if you have that kind of topic where people are galvanized behind it, you can become a hub for that community. So Forks Over Knives, by building that email list, became much, much more than just the movie. They got recipes, they got communities, they got cookbooks and all sorts of different things that go along with it. And not only that, like through the years, they've also partnered with other filmmakers and promoted their movies. So there's a lot that went on that went way beyond the movie. So build your list, build your list, build your list. And then an example of what that looks like, of course, is like here's a pop-up that they had on their site whenever I took this slide. So if you haven't seen that movie, by the way, check it out. So I
Jason,
met,
there are a few questions.
sure,
Do
go
you
ahead.
want to take a few of them because they're
Okay.
related to what you're talking? Yeah. Okay, so let's take the first one from Leslie. Does documentary describe genre or a better marketing term?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Does documentary describe genre or a better marketing term? Leslie, can you type in more details?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah. And then Prima is asking, I think this one you meant the video pokers in the casino, but I may be wrong here. What is a video poker? Prima Rose was asking.
Well, this year the American film market was held in Las Vegas for the first time ever, and it was in a casino. So in between meetings, you could go down to the casino floor, and then on the casino floor they have slot machines and gambling and different things like that. It was meant to be funny when I was telling that story. The video poker part, not the part about hearing terrible pitches.
Okay. And then what are your
Well,
favorite unconventional ways to building an email list?
my favorite unconventional ways.
Yeah, to build an email list.
I think I do a lot of conventional ways. Because I try not to overcomplicate. I try to keep all of my marketing simple. So some ways you might do it is going back to this diagram here, typically you would want to have some sort of incentive for somebody to opt in, and that incentive is value. So crowdfunding campaigns are interesting in this way because maybe you have something that's really interesting that you give away in exchange for an email list, or if you're doing it on your own website, maybe it's behind the scenes, the making of your movie, the whole way from like the table read for narrative or behind the scenes of documentary interviews that you're just dripping out. But you use some of that stuff to say, hey, I'm making a movie. If you want to stay in touch with me, put your email down below and I'm going to send you VIP behind the scenes stuff that I'm only sharing with the people on this list, and it's going to be awesome. So make sure you put your email in there. It's that kind of thing, trying to find some value and then actually present value in the emails you send out. So in the case of like filmmaking stuff, for example, you'll see most of the emails that Tom sends out is like teaching something, but there's usually a call to action in there with a link that clicks back to go somewhere else. So we try to keep those emails, 90% value. Well, I think they're 100% value, even if you are pitching something. But the point is, you don't want to make it one big pitch fest. So I don't know if I fully answered your question, but I think the main thing is think value first before gimmick, right? Because when I hear like unconventional, I start to think gimmicky. Think value. What's in it for the person to sign up?
Can I also add
And then,
something, Jason?
Yes.
Maybe like they meant by like unconventional, maybe like joint ventures. So working with
Oh, yeah,
other
good idea. Yep. You feel free to explain that. I know you're in the space.
Yeah, so joint ventures are working with other large influencers or partners and offering that audience something such as a lead magnet, which is what Jason is talking about, which is giving value. So, for example, for Forks Over Knives, that could be a free cookbook.
Yeah,
Uh,
look, we can even look at it here. Like healthy meals made easy, personalized shopping list, 300 delicious plant-based recipes, new recipes added every week. Has nothing to do with the movie, but again, this is their community by this point, but that kind of thing.
yeah, exactly.
And by the way, this is in some way an example of a joint venture. I'm here from filmmaking stuff. I'm not hitting you over the head with filmmaking stuff, but in a subtle way, or right now, not so subtle. this is a joint venture with Carol Dean where she's promoting us, and then I'm giving you value through a different channel. So just, start thinking about that way. And thanks, Jonathan, too, for reminding me of joint venture. I'm going to have to add that here.
So as a follow-up, Jason, any tips towards increasing engagement for future conversions, breaking through the noise?
So when we're talking about traffic and conversion with the 4 different ways that you might do that, I assume you're probably talking about social media and online stuff. You're probably talking about like YouTube videos and different things like that. Put a lot of stuff out there frequently. And that sounds like pretty basic advice. But first and foremost, you'd be surprised how many people are absolutely inconsistent with their social posting. And in that social posting, most people are all about, look at me, look at me, look at me. But you got to remember, it's about the person that you're trying to get in front of and giving them value. It's about them, not you. So the less you mention I or me or care about you in giving, the better off you'll do. And by putting things out consistently, you're going to find that there's an 80-20 rule pretty much to everything you do. Pretty much everything in life is weirdly that way. But in marketing, you'll find that like you put 100 things out there, 20 of them get a lot of, engagement, and 4 out of the 20 really, hit it out of the park. And that 4 out of the 20 are the things that you're looking for, but you can only get there if you keep putting some stuff out there. And by putting stuff out there, and this is, we could teach a whole course on that, but putting stuff out there is like you come up with a game plan on like how you're going to provide value to whoever might stumble across your stuff. So I guess generally speaking, don't try to get gimmicky, try to continually add value.
Yeah. So one last question, and it's clearing up the questions on the documentary, and then we can continue, Jason. So
Sure.
basically, is the documentary a genre, or do you need to segment it further?
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, so documentary is like I'd call it more of a category than a genre, because within the documentary space, like here's an example of a documentary, and I would call this a food documentary, right? Or I'm really into skateboarding. I used to skateboard when I was a kid, and I still like watching skateboard documentaries. So I'd call that like a skateboard documentary, which I guess technically falls under action sports. But yeah, think that way. Like you're in a category of movies, so usually you have the narrative feature or documentary feature, but then within those categories, you can have genres.
Okay, thank you so much, Jason. We can continue now.
Okay. So what we've been doing so far through these steps too is we've been building up fundamentals of marketing. We've been building up a framework. We've talked a lot about building a list. Jonathan reminded us of joint ventures as being one of the tactics we can use, but there's a lot of other things that you can do. But in terms of traffic and conversion, once you know the highway, if you will, once you know your funnel, once you know how you're getting people here, right? And we know that this is the destination, then we got to figure out some ways to get that traffic going. So this may answer some of you that have questions about how to increase engagement and that kind of stuff. So Carol D mentioned filmmaking stuff. Started as a blog where I was sharing back then, like some very, when we started that, it was a time when DVDs were still a thing. And some of my first articles that got popular were like, hey, did you see what was happening in the music industry? Did you see what was happening in the publishing industry? Yeah, everything's digital. It's probably going to happen in movies. So here's a bunch of articles on what that means. That's why it got popular. Really, really groundbreaking stuff now, but back then nobody was talking about it. So starting your own website, creating your own blog is one way for those of you that are interested in writing and you like to write like I do. But these days there's another thing like Substack, Medium. I like Substack. It has a whole community built into it. I'm not on there, but some of our students are over at Filmmaking Stuff. They're on Substack because they like writing. So think of Substack kind of like YouTube. It's a platform where you can put your creative work out there, but that platform already has a bunch of people that might be interested in your creative work. And so Substack is a pretty cool place to go. And one of the things you can do if you know you're making a movie or you're working on a movie, one of the simplest things you can do is create sets. I was involved with this company Chill back in the day. We did this movie called Camp Dakota starring 3 famed YouTubers. And Chill was a platform where we dripped out content from behind the scenes the whole way through the making of the movie with all sorts of VIP stuff that only people that opted in could see. It was a really good, hugely successful platform. But it taught me that all you have to do is do a bunch of behind the scenes stuff and drip it out. And then through building that audience and getting that following, or through dripping that stuff out consistently over time, you start to build that following that when the movies are ready and available to buy, or you have some screenings, you know exactly who to reach out to. Then you got your YouTube video updates. Those of you that are making short form content, Jonathan will talk later about some experimental stuff he's working on with AI and whatnot. There's a lot you can do on YouTube in between your bigger projects. Before all of you came on, I was telling Jonathan about how my 3-year-old daughter enjoys going onto YouTube and watching short videos about somebody like putting a balloon on a helium tank and blowing up the balloon. Millions of views and some of that kind of stuff. Those people are making full-time livings. Why aren't you? So there's a lot you can do between your bigger projects, and there's a lot you can do by making these shorter form things as you're making your bigger projects in a behind the scenes context. And then obviously part of this was, grassroots movie marketing on a budget. So there's a lot of places you can be, as I mentioned before, but I would recommend you choose one social media channel and just stick with that. So maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's Substack, maybe it's Facebook or Instagram or something, but stick with one where you're going to just really focus all of your efforts. And that one channel is usually decided upon because that's where some people that are interested in your material hang out. Like it or lump it, like right now on Twitter, there's a heck of a lot of people talking about cryptocurrency and then also AI and the implications of AI. So if you're making some content around those subject matter, you probably want to be on Twitter and figuring out how to use that platform to its maximum potential. So weekly behind the scenes tactics, you can do that pretty easily. You can just come up with some different things that you're going to put out there and get them out there. But you want to update, like I said, consistently 2 to 3 times a week minimum, and just continue to do it. Pretend that you're a TV channel like the old days, and you got a schedule and you got to stick to that schedule. With your social media posts too, always include a call to action. You want to get people back to your hub. See? So if you put something out there and it's like, hey, if you like this today, click the link below for more info, takes them over here, you capture the email address. And then you want to pre-schedule your posts. You're busy, I'm busy. If I don't pre-schedule posts, they don't get posted. That's how it goes. I'm like, oh, I'll do that. I got to do that by lunch. Next thing you know, it's 5 p.m. and I'm exhausted. And there's no way I'm doing any more of that. I run into that, with my brain all the time. Best way around that is to pre-schedule posts. And then here's a big one. And I have to admit that I'm guilty of this just based on my time, that there's a lot of unanswered comments in my social media channel. And over time, I've hired assistants to help me with this, and that makes a huge difference. But let's say you're promoting something with that 80-20 rule, right? You put out like 100 pieces of content, 20 of them catch a lot of attention, and then 4 of them are just hitting it out of the park. At least on those 4 that are hitting it out of the park, if there's comments, respond to every comment. By doing that, you spike the algorithm, which means you get in front of more and more people, which means more and more people comment, which means it becomes this ripple effect of engagement that helps get you in front of more and more people. Think of every social media post as its own community. This is really important. It's its own community. And if you think of it that way, you're going to find a lot more value taking time to respond to those comments. Those comments aren't going to be immediate in terms of like getting you new opt-ins for your email or getting you revenue and sales of your movie. But what it's going to do, again, is get you in front of a lot of people that later on, as you post more and more stuff, those people are also going to see that stuff. So what about video? Well, to kind of sum up everything that we're doing, we know that if we're making movies, your trailer is going to be your most important selling component. Now, if you haven't yet produced your movie, you don't have money in the bank to even like make some, content around your movie, again, that's where you lean into behind the scenes stuff. But when you're ready and you have a movie trailer, to get that out there, I would recommend you create 4 cuts of your trailer, 4 different cuts. And then again, you want to hire somebody that's really good at editing trailers. If you don't have the budget for that, do the thing. I think I learned this from Robert Rodriguez, Rebel Without a Crew. I think you take a movie that's successful, that's in the same genre as yours, put that exact trailer on your timeline, and then use that as a template as you cut your own trailer. Meaning, like, how many seconds do they make a cut? Is it action packed? Is it, what's the pacing of each cut? And you can go a long way towards helping to templatize your trailer. If you're, again, not able to hire a trailer editor to help you, but you want to have 4 different versions of your trailer. Then you want to upload those to YouTube. Then you want to go out to friends and family and other people you might know and say, hey, here's 4 links to 4 trailers. Can you please watch these? And don't do anything else. Just say that. And what you're going to find over a period of like 2 weeks or so, one of these 4 is going to get more views. One of these 4 is going to get more comments. One of these 4 is going to get shared a heck of a lot more than the others. And so you can lean into that one. And that's your feedback. You don't even have to ask for feedback. Which one did you like more? Because people are going to tell you based on their engagement. And the cool thing here too, again, with YouTube is you put your trailer up there and you get those comments, then it kind of does the thing I was talking about earlier. It becomes its own community. You respond to these comments, it spikes the algorithm, and it keeps moving that way. Don't forget your call to action, by the way, with the trailer and any of those posts. There's a tool that I use. Tom and I have an affiliate where they pay us like money to promote it, but I don't know what that link is. So just Google this one. It's called TubeBuddy, all one word, TubeBuddy. It's a YouTube overlay. I've been using them for quite a few years. It's a cool thing that you can add on. It's like a Chrome, like a Google Chrome add-on. And when you go into post YouTube videos, it'll help you with like keywords and how you want to title your video and what tags to use. So it's a pretty cool tool to use. So I know, this is a short amount of time. We covered a lot. So let's do a quick recap and then I can open, come back to some Q&A. So 5 steps. What is marketing? We talked about traffic and conversion. Don't overcomplicate it. That's what it is. Traffic and conversion. The question is, where are you sending the traffic and what do you want those people to do when they get there? Sharpen your hook. We talked about the unique selling proposition. Who's in your movie? Is there any sort of controversy? And what genre does it fit into? Then we talked about the importance of getting professional assets, both on the graphic design side and also on the trailer cutting side. And don't forget the branding suggestion, got to match your belt with your shoes. And then we talked about some ways to drive some traffic. Behind the scenes, making of stuff is great. Making short content is great. Putting blog posts out, maybe on your own blog if you're into that, or using Substack is great. You got to figure out how to drive some traffic. But again, you need to know where you're driving that traffic back to. A simple landing page to collect email addresses, still works in the year 2025. And then your trailer is your biggest selling point. Break it down. Make 4 different cuts. Put them out there. Don't ask for feedback. Just ask people to look at your trailer. You'll figure it out through engagement, comments, views, etc., which trailer is winning, and then use that as the winner.